Welcome to Think Like a Nurse 2. Today we're going to be talking about renal disorders and the function of the urinary system. There will be several different segments that are going to be attached, and under each segment area will be a new topic. This first topic is going to be the actual pathophysiology of the kidney. Okay, we have two kidneys, one on the right side and one on the left side of your body. They are divided by your aorta, which runs down the midline, and then you have your renal arteries that provide nutrients and oxygen to your kidneys on either side. Your right kidney is located higher in your abdomen. So if you can imagine that you have your rib cage here, okay, and then into your rib cage, of course, that's your protection for your lungs, okay. This is your sternum mediastinal area. We're going to come down, and running here is going to be your aorta, and then branching off of either of that on either side is going to be your kidney. You've got a right kidney and a left kidney, and they're shaped similar to that of a bean. Okay, when we're looking at the kidneys, again, like I said, we've got your renal arteries. Sometimes, or most of the time, your right kidney is going to be located towards the back, up under the rib cage, or just inferior to the rib cage itself, as a protective mechanism. You can also have what's called a pelvic kidney, and some clients do have a pelvic kidney, which just means it's located in a lower, different spot than usual. Or you may have a client that only has one kidney, and their body functions very normally with one kidney. Later in the segments, we're going to talk in detail about kidney transplant, so we'll save that for our future lecture. Okay, so we said we have our aorta that divides down the midline, and then we've got our renal arteries here on the right and the left, and they provide the nutrients and oxygen that we need to either kidney. Okay, then we need to be thinking about our kidneys, and to try to make this very simple and easy to understand, I want to try to break down to you the function of a kidney, kind of like that of a coffee pot. Okay, we all like to get our Java and our caffeine right. Okay, the coffee, if we're thinking about making coffee, first we have to have our coffee grounds, and then we have water also, and water is very functional and vital to survival in the body, and providing what we need to help liquefy the blood, to help nourish other organs. So then we're taking our coffee pot right here, okay, and we've got our coffee ready. We've obtained our coffee grounds that we need, our ingredients, we've got our water, we've got our coffee pot, and now what we need to do is obtain a filter. Okay, so the kidneys are going to function much like this in that they filter out toxins and wastes. So if you imagine a coffee filter, it keeps the coffee grounds and debris and other products from contaminating your coffee. Well, the kidneys function much like that, and they remove those waste products and poisons and toxins, and then they filter that out, so that way it comes out and is excreted in the form of urine. And urine is a waste product that is produced by the kidneys when the kidneys are functioning well. So if we tested our urine, there are several different ways that we do that. We could do a standard urinalysis, which means that we're just going to take a sample of the urine, just a voided sample from our client, and we're going to look at that underneath the microscope, or we'll send it to the lab to be processed. They're going to look at it under the microscope or perform what's called a urine dipstick. And in this particular process, we're actually looking to see what all is involved, or what types of components are actually in the urine itself. We're looking for nitrates, which are products that could indicate that we have a urinary tract infection. We're also looking for bacteria. Those are those bad bugs or microbes that are actually present in the urinary tract system that can cause problems. What also we want to be looking for is the specific gravity of the urine. How heavy is that urine in relationship to a normal specific gravity? All those different pieces let us know whether or not our kidneys are actually functioning like they should. So remember, we talked about having two kidneys, one on the right side, one on the left side. You're cutting me off. Okay. Excuse me for just a moment. Alright, so we've got two kidneys, one on the right side, one on the left side, and then we're looking at how they function. We've talked about imagining them in relationship to the coffee pot and the coffee filter itself, and pulling out the toxins and the poisons and all the things that are not supposed to be there. In order to understand the disorders that are related to the kidneys, we have to understand the basic function of those kidneys. So in order to make that very simple, you need to think about that in relationship to a coffee pot. Okay, and the coffee filter that takes away the toxins. We've talked about the urinalysis and what all takes place regarding drawing a simple or obtaining a simple urinalysis from a client. And if we want to get more in depth, if we're looking at, you know, whether or not the client actually has a functional kidney problem, then again, like I said, we're looking at the specific gravity of the urine. We're determining how heavy that urine is. We're looking for things that are going to be abnormal, such as glucose or glycosuria. That's sugar in the urine, and that happens very commonly to clients that are diabetic. We also know that as ketones. They're breaking down proteins that turn into ketones that are showing up in the urine. So none of those things should be present in urine. No nitrates, no glucose, no bacteria. We're looking for things that when we get that urinalysis, it's telling us a lot about whether or not that urine or that client has a problem within the urinary system. If we're taking that further and we do find that a client has bacteria in the urine, then we're going to actually go ahead and send, with the healthcare provider's order, of course, we're going to go ahead and send that urine off to the lab and obtain what's called a culture and sensitivity. And after a few days, 3 to 5 days, sometimes not as long, when the lab results come back, it's going to tell us what type of bacteria, if any, was present, and whether or not we need to go ahead and place the client on an antibiotic. So this just provides a better diagnostic measure to help determine if the kidneys are functioning improperly, or if it is just a simple, what we call urinary tract infection or UTI that's present with our client. If our client does have a UTI or urinary tract infection, then what we're going to go ahead and look at is that culture and sensitivity that comes back from the lab. And it's going to tell us, you know, what kind of bacteria were present and what types of antibiotics that may be sensitive to your client, or sensitive, that the bacteria may be sensitive to that particular bacterium, so that way we can cure the client and hopefully help them to feel better. What we also have to always keep in mind when we're looking at clients and trying to determine what types of antibiotics to put them on, of course that's in regard to your healthcare provider, we're also wanting to know and making sure that the client does not have any medication allergies. Okay, so those are just some very simple things to get us started. In our next session, we're going to talk more in detail about those different kinds of medications that are used to treat UTIs. But we've covered a few things today in our first lesson and first topic, and that was the function of the kidney itself, where it's located in relationship to the body. We've also talked about the urinary tract system a little bit, and we're going to talk further in detail about that in our next segment. Again, I hope that you'll join me again for our next segment, which is going to entail medications related to treating urinary tract infections. Thank you.
Comment, rate, and subscribe.